Hello, good morning or afternoon or maybe evening, depending where you are. Hello, everyone. As you can see, we are starting soon. I'll wait a few more seconds just to get everyone to settle, get their popcorn, whatever it might be. We have several audiences today. Some of you are on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you know who you are, of course. And we're also streaming this live on several social media platforms. So, well, wherever you are, welcome. Good. I think everyone's settled, or I have no way of knowing that, but let's assume everyone has settled and we'll make a start. I don't want to keep you too long. I'm Stephen, and I'll be with you for the next 30, 45 minutes, depending on how many questions you have, really, to introduce the intermediate deep dive real Python course. Now, this is an information session where the aim is for you to find out more. So please do ask questions at any point you want. If you see me look on my left, which is there, I've got my second screen with several chats. Those of you on Zoom, you know how to use the chat, I'm sure. Those of you on several social media platforms, if you post underneath wherever you are on social media, I should be able to see it on my screen. Some social media platforms don't play ball, so I won't be able to see your comments. But ask the comments anyway. If I don't see them live, we'll come back to them later. So please ask questions at any point you want. If any one of you who is on Zoom prefers to ask the question using your real voice, please do so as well. Raise your hand and I'll give you the mic, as they say. So please ask questions as much as you want. Okay. Let's also make sure we're all in the right place. I'll be talking about an intermediate level course. I'll define intermediate because these terms can mean different things to different people. So I'll define it later on. But if you're an absolute beginner, this is not the course for you. If you are an absolute beginner, don't run away yet. We do run beginners courses as well. And in fact, I have information sessions today about the beginners course. But this particular session, I'll be talking about an intermediate level course, just so that we're all in the right place. Okay, let's properly make a start. Now, you're here to find out about the intermediate deep dive course, not to find out about me. I'll give you a very brief intro to who I am. Why? Because this is a live course. I'll talk about how the interaction between instructor, and that will be me for this course, and students, hopefully you, is really important. So you may need to know a bit about who I am. I'm Stephen, did I mention it in the beginning? Anyway, I'm Stephen. There you go. I used to be a physicist. My first profession was a physicist, and that's in fact where I've learned my programming as part of my science work. I did that for 15 years or so. Usual route, did my PhD, worked in academia, lots of fun working in labs. Then I moved on to something quite different, which is Python education. And for the last 11, 12 years, I've been focusing on Python education. Written a textbook. I think I've got well over 200 articles out there on the internet about Python at different levels. I've run lots of courses, live courses, recorded courses, one-to-ones, whatever. If it's Python education, I've probably done some of it before. In the end of 2024, so a year and a bit ago, I've joined Real Python to set up and deliver these live courses. Some of you may be familiar with Real Python. Many of you may be familiar with Real Python. Normally, if you go and Google some Python stuff, somewhere at the top, you'll get a Real Python article about that topic. So hopefully you're familiar with Real Python. By the way, this says starting soon, right? Let's move on. We have started. And if you're familiar with Real Python, you've probably seen the articles, all those tutorials about all sorts of topics. You may have seen the video courses. They've been around at Real Python for quite a while. But as of last year, we'll be running these live courses as well. So I say they're new. We've run quite a few of them already in 2025. So the format, the structure, the content is well established. But they're relatively new in terms of the grand scheme of things. And the aim of these courses is to provide a different way of accessing Python knowledge, of course. Not everyone learns in the same way. Not everyone has the same time commitments, whatever. So for those who want, and I'm going to describe this format, and of course I'm going to be telling you a lot more about the format in the next few minutes. I like to describe it as the best of both worlds in the sense that as we're designing this format, we wanted to make sure there's enough flexibility in there. This is not a course where you have to give up your day job for several weeks and only do this course. We did not want to design one of those courses. We wanted a course that people can fit in alongside their existing commitments. And that's because in today's world, that's how most people learn and upskill, if you like to use that word. They can't sort of, not many people can stop whatever they're doing for several weeks. So this course is designed to fit alongside your existing commitments. However, it's not a self-led course. It's led by the instructor, myself, who I'll guide you throughout the way. Live sessions, that interaction is really important. And I think having this format where you're in a group learning together with an instructor guiding you helps you with accountability, because you have someone there who's, well, I mean, I'm not making sure you've done your work, right, at the end of the day, but I'm there moving things forward day by day. So it feels like you have that accountability buddy, if you like. And it helps you keep motivated as well, because you're not alone. You've got an instructor and other students. So as I said, we've run several of these cohort courses last year. We've fine-tuned them. The format we feel works well, and I'll tell you more about it in a bit. In fact, I can tell you about it now. Two things I want to talk about today. The format of the course. And this is important because at the end of the day, it needs to be a format that works for you. If it doesn't, that's fine. And then the content of the course. I did say I'm going to explain what intermediate is. So by the end of this course, I want you to make sure that the format works for you, and this is the course at the right level at the right time for you. So those are the two things I'll focus on. Let me start with format, and let me move on to a different page. One thing you should know about me is I don't like PowerPoint slides much. In fact, I don't like them at all. I very rarely use them. So instead of having some bullet points here, I'm actually going to write notes as I go along, just to have something for you to see. Format. Let me write down briefly some of the key points that summarize the format of this course, and then I'll go through them again and expand a bit more. A reminder, if at any point you have questions, please drop them in the chat wherever you are. I should be able to see them. Good. So first of all, how long is this course? It's an 8-week course, and I'll tell you why it's, we've chosen 8 weeks and not 2, 4, 6, or 27. Good. That's the length of the course in terms of weeks. How about the commitment every day? And it's about, let me put about there, about 2 hours commitment per day. Ooh, did I spell commitment wrong there? I always do. Is it one T, is it, I think? There we go. I'll tell you more about what these hours look like. They're not the same every day, etc., etc. Now, a key part of this course is that there's a live component, and that's so important. So there are 3 live sessions a week. Once again, I'm going through the headlines here. I'll come through these again and I'll expand. I'll tell you what the live sessions are, what they look like, how they run, etc., etc. What else is relevant? There are 10 students per cohort. So these are smallish groups. You probably can guess why, but I'll explain a bit about how the nature of the sessions are and why we need smallish groups for that. And finally, there's a forum. I think the forum is such an important part of this format. I'll come back to it in a bit. So those are the key points. It gives you a snapshot of what the course looks like. So let me go through them again now. So why 8 weeks? Well, I mean, there's nothing special about 8 exactly, but when we're designing this course, we wanted a course that covers quite a bit of material. We didn't want to just cover, 1 or 2 things. Why? Because we want you to be able to achieve quite a lot, to make a significant step from where you are now to where you want to be. So I want to cover a significant amount of material. However, sometimes you have these courses where it feels like there's a tick box. Let's cover this and this and this. And it feels like the more things you cover, the better it is. We didn't want that either, because every topic we cover, we want to have enough time to explore it, perhaps from different perspectives, to dive a bit deeper, have discussions, work on examples. Basically, wanted every topic to make sure there's time for it to brew a bit and to make sure you really understand it. And 8 weeks then we found works nicely for achieving both of those things, covering a significant amount of material, but also having enough time to explore those topics. So that's where the 8 weeks comes in. I can see some questions coming in on different platforms. I'll come to them in a bit. I'll share links with all the information as well. So I've seen the questions. I'll come to them. Don't worry, I'm not forgetting them. Good. So 8 weeks. Now, those 8 weeks are split into 40 days. Why? Because it's the Monday to Friday. So we Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to say they're off. You can, of course, catch up on things and carry on your studying, but the core content is the Monday to Friday for those 8 weeks. And roughly, the amount of commitment you would expect in each of those weekdays throughout the 8 weeks is around 2 hours. Now, I want to stress it's about 2 hours. Why? Because some days might be shorter, some days might be longer. Some of you may be able to go through material quicker than others. So it's approximately 2 hours. But if you know that your commitments mean that if you're thinking there's no way I would be able to get 2 hours every day, then probably this course is not for you. Of course, this course requires you to put in the time and effort. I'll be there to help you, but I can't do it all alone. I need you to be able to go through the material. So roughly, that's what we're looking at. If you think you do have around 2 hours a day to spare over an 8 week period, then listen on. Perfect. Yeah, I'll come to your questions all in a bit. Just keeping an eye on them there. What are these 2 hours every day? They vary. Not every day is the same, but most days, what I've done is I've curated content for each and every one of these 40 days, each day of the course. So every day, almost every day, I'll tell you why almost, you'll have on the learning platform that you get access to when you join, you'll have material I've curated for you based on the topic of the day. Some of it will be, this is from Real Python's existing resources. So some of it will be reading material, some of it will be video courses to watch, you'll have exercises to work on. So that's the content you're going through. And that part of the course you can do in your own time. That's where the flexibility comes in. If you want to go to those 2 hours, first thing in the morning before you take your dog out for a walk, or at lunchtime, or at dinner time, or you want to split it across the day, that's up to you. This is why we want it to be flexible. So this part of the content you can do in your own time. Now, that's not it, however. As I've mentioned earlier, a key part of this course is also the interaction between you and me. And that's where the live sessions comes in. Now, there are two types of live sessions. There are 3 each week. 2 of them are Q&A sessions. These are Mondays and Fridays. And these are 60 minutes each. 60 minutes each. Well, the Q&A is as it says on the tin, right? It's a question and answer. As you're going through these 2 hours every day, you will have questions. In fact, this is one of the challenges sometimes with independent learning. You get stuff, but then you have a question, or you want to make sure you've understood something well. Whom do you ask? That's where the live component, that's where me as an instructor comes in. So when you have questions, as you're going through those materials, there are 2 things you could do with these questions. One of them is bring it to the Q&A, the next Q&A that we have. I'll tell you what the other one is later on. So Q&As are, the agenda in these sessions is driven by you, is driven by your questions. I often like to talk about, rather than describing these as Q&As, they're more like Q&A and the D. The D is for the discussion. Why? Because you'll ask the questions, but typically we're going to have a discussion around your questions, meander through the topics, dig underneath the surface. And in that discussion, the answers will come. But it's not so much the answers, it's making sure we really understand how we get to those answers. So the discussions we have in these Q&As, I think, are such an important part of the course. And in the courses we've run in 2025, We've had some great discussions and students found these Q&As really useful. The remaining session every week is a more structured 90-minute, let's call it structured session. This is more of a classic lesson where I'll come with a set of things I want to discuss. Some of it will be new material that we haven't covered in these 2 hours a day. Others will be we pick topics you have covered in this material and expand on it or look at it at a different perspective. Work on examples. So the 90-minute structured sessions will always include 2 or 3 different parts to them. It's still very informal, so it's still about you stopping me asking questions. But the difference is that here I come with a plan. In the Q&As, you come with a plan. You come with your questions. Good. There's probably a bit more to say about these sessions, but I'll see whether I'll feed from your questions in a bit. Let me finish these 2, and then I'll come to your questions. Now, I've hopefully given you an idea of how this is going to work so far. So every day you have material, you work in your own time, and then 3 times a week we meet live, and that interaction is really important. The sessions, whether it's 90-minute structured session or the Q&As, they're not like this session where I am talking to you. You are sending messages in the chat, sure, but this is very much a one-way conversation. All of these sessions, it will be us all seeing each other, and we are on Zoom, yes, but I like to say, let's imagine we're actually sitting in the same room having a cup of coffee. That's the sort of session we want to have. That's the discussions. So the discussions are really important. All of these sessions are not me talking to you, they're us discussing, and that's why we need smaller numbers. The moment numbers start to get too big, people feel a bit inhibited from asking questions. We can't really have discussions. So we wanted to keep each cohort relatively small. We'll have 2 cohorts running at the same time. And in a bit, I'm going to tell you, what time the live sessions are. I'll show you in a few minutes. But each group is 10 students in order to have those conversations, those discussions. Finally, before moving on to some of your questions, the forum. Now, the forum is specific to just the course. So this is a bespoke forum just for those doing this course at this time. And the forum is the glue that brings all of these things together, because I did mention earlier when you were going to do your material, I said there are 2 ways you can ask questions. One of them was the Q&As. The other one is to post it straight away on the forum. You can do both, of course. Post it on the forum and bring it in the Q&A. In fact, often discussions start on the forum, and then we move them onto a Q&A as well to sort of discuss those things that is best to discuss using spoken words. So the forum is there for you to ask questions at any point. I post things there pretty much daily, sometimes some additional videos to give you my perspective on things. When you're working on exercises, we'll have plenty of exercises to work on. You can post your code, get feedback. We have discussions about it. So the forum is the ongoing place where we can discuss all of these topics. The forum is there 24/7. I do sleep from time to time, so I won't be there 24/7 myself, but I'll be there throughout my waking hours, checking and making sure the conversations keep going. So the forum is the way to keep that discussion going across the whole 8 weeks. Good. Now, let me have a look at some questions. First of all, let me share a link. I'll show you this link in a bit. I've shared it to Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. If you're on another platform, I'll show you instead a link. If you go to realpython.com/live, and on this page, you will find links to our courses. We're talking about the intermediate deep dive. So let me have a look at some questions I have on Zoom. So the link I've sent you has all the details about times. I'll show you the page in a bit, how to book, etc., etc. there's a broad audience here. If you think this course is not for you, either in terms of time commitment or cost, I understand that. So you're all going to make your judgment on what you're looking for and whether this is the right thing for you. So the link I've sent you has all the details. I'm going through most of it here, but I'll share the link again in a bit. So 2 hour commitment. Seth asked me on Zoom, how is that tracked? So we don't track that time. The 2 hours is more, we've designed our content so that every day we've given you material that roughly will require 2 hours of your time. Now, if you go through it in 1 hour or if you need to take 3 hours, that's up to you. We don't track how much time you're going to spend on it. It's up to you. The 2 hours are there to give you an indication on how much commitment you expect to have if you want to join this course. Because some people might say, no, no, there's no way I can fit in 2 hours a day every weekday for 8 weeks. And that's perfectly fine. I understand. So that's that. Hopefully the 2 hours is not a sort of a requirement. It's more of a guideline that we are giving to you. Some people ask me sometimes, if I'm busy on a Monday or on a certain day, what can I do? And that's fine because it's not the end of the world if you have to catch up on Monday's material on the Tuesday, or even if you know you're going to be busy on the Tuesday and you do a bit extra on the Monday, that's perfectly fine. So if on a certain day you're going to have 3 hours to spare, another day 1 hour to spare, that's also fine. It's roughly 2 hours a day. Hopefully it gives you an idea. I have a question on LLMs there. I'll keep that till the end. I think the new drive in terms of sort of how AI is working these days. It's changing how programming is working. So I think it's relevant to talk. Now, those of you who are here thinking, "Oh, I don't want to learn how to code because there's AI," I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. But I think the general idea at the moment is that the AI tools we have now and will have for the foreseeable future are helping most those who are proficient with coding. So the AI tools are there to make programmers a lot more proficient. In some ways, it's never been a better time to learn how to program because the AI tools are providing that multiplier. I'm happy to add more on this at the end if there are more questions. Conrad asked me how long are the live sessions. This may have been before I was mentioning it. So the live sessions are, the Q&As are 1 hour a week. There are two of them, Mondays and Fridays. And then the Wednesday session is slightly longer, 90 minutes. So that's 3.5 hours a week of live sessions. In fact, I can see someone answer there. Yeah, question. Yeah, 3 live sessions a week, correct. If there are two cohorts of 10 students, does that mean there's a selection process? No, there is no selection process. In the next part of this session, I'll be showing you the content. I'll be giving you an idea on the level we're at. And therefore, everyone coming in will roughly be at the same level. So we're not sort of streaming the groups. The two different groups are different times of the day for the live sessions, which I'll show you in a bit. Yeah, humor. Yes, this is a webinar to sell the course, someone asked me. It's a seminar to give you information about the course. At the end of the day, some of you may find this course really useful. Others, for different reasons, this may not be the right course for you. Absolutely, we understand that. And we had lots of very happy participants, students who did this particular course. We've run it already 4 times in 2025. And it's been full every time. People were happy with it. But clearly, the format, the cost, the time commitment may not be the right thing for everyone. I fully understand that. Good, 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 good. Let me. Programming is okay. LLMs. A few more LLM questions. I'll talk about LLMs at the end. Someone looking to learn Python for DevOps, would this be relevant? I'll show you the content in a bit. So going through more questions. So good, good, good. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. I think. Okay. Um, Let me move on to, now I have a look at questions, but let's move on to content. Let me go to my next page. This is the page I've shared with you. Now, I'm going to go through what's happening every week of the course. There are 8 weeks in the course. I'll go through this quickly because I've shared with you this link. I'll share it again so you can then read through it in your own time. But I want to give you an idea on what we mean by intermediate, what the level is. So this is a course for those who have already done the basics. So you're already comfortable with all the fundamentals, all the for loops. You've probably been while loops, defining functions. You've probably been coding for a bit already, but you feel like you're ready to go to the next step. Now, what does this mean? And the best way to show you is to tell you what the content looks like. We start with a review, and then we go into a bit more detail of object-oriented programming. Now, there are two reasons why we start an intermediate course with object-oriented programming. The first one is because it's some people love it, some people hate it, but it's a key part of modern programming. So you won't be able to avoid it throughout your Python journey. That's one reason. The second reason, however, is that Python is built on top of OOP principles. So the only way to truly dive deep into Python, the only way to really understand how Python works behind the scenes is to have a good grasp of the OOP principles it's built on top of. Now, not all of you will come with the same background. Some of you will be thinking, oh yeah, I've done OOP. In that case, week one will be a nice review. Although you'll find that the way we cover the topics, the way I like to dive deep into the topics is that even topics you know of, will probably look at them in different perspectives to make sure that all those pieces fit in nicely together. The key about this course is that it's one coherent, everything fits nicely together by the end. So every topic we'll introduce will always have a bit of a review, either for the benefit of those who perhaps haven't really done much OOP before, but also for those who have, to make sure that we're all on the same page. So we'll start with OOP. Before I move on to week two, when you go to this link, you will find the 2 session times. Now, this will show it in your own time zone. I'm based in the UK, so this is showing it in my time zone. But when you go to this page, which I've shared with you, then you'll see the times in your own time zone. You only need one of these sessions, so you pick whichever one suits you. If one of those suits you, that's great. When you book, we'll ask you which session do you want to be on. So in terms of the session times, these are the Q&As that happen Monday and Friday, and the Wednesday session. Those are the times, and you'll see that every week you'll have those 3 sessions. We move on to week 2, and we go a bit further into the OOP world. Why? Because I've mentioned that everything that Python does, everything that happens in Python is linked to these special methods. These are the underscore methods that are a key part of object-oriented programming in Python, but they're not specific to OOP. They are the plumbing, if you like, that keeps all of Python working. So that's why in week 2, we're going to really make sure we understand these special methods. And from there, we're going to start to see how they are linked to everything that happens in Python. For example, here we're going to start seeing how categories of data types, sequences and mappings, what makes a sequence? The answer is the dunder methods that they have and how they interact with each other. We'll talk a bit about data classes, they're related, and we'll start talking about iteration, but we'll move on to iteration on week 3. Iteration is such an important aspect of programming, and Python has its own way of dealing with iteration. And once we really understand, again, once we dig underneath the surface to see what happens in looping in Python, not just the for loop, right? All sorts of iteration. Once we understand it from its OOP foundations, then we can learn how to do Pythonic looping, how to loop more efficiently in Python, or as sometimes we hear, more idiomatically in Python. So week 3 will dive deeper into how iteration works in Python, a number of topics there. The fun world of iterators and iterables. We'll move on to generators as well. So many topics linked to really understanding how to repeat stuff in Python beyond what we know from the basics. What else is important in programming? Functions, and of course you've defined functions before. This is not a beginner's course. However, we're going to take the function unit and once again dig deeper to really understand what's happening in a function, all the different parameter and keyword types, and what's really happening inside functions. And the reason we're doing this is for what's also coming in week 5. So here we're really going to make sure that no corner is left unturned in terms of how functions function in Python. And this leads us to a bit more about function, the idea of scoping, where things exist in Python. This is such an important aspect in larger projects to know where things exist. And then we move on to talk about topics that are derived from functions, things like closures and decorators. So here we're going to take functions and really understand them to a significant level of detail. And then we move on to week 6. And we go back to data types. And once again, the nature of this course is we're taking topics that you know already, but we're going 1 or 2 layers beneath the surface. So here we're going to look at data types. We're going to really understand the different characteristics. How do you compare different data types? What really matters? I've just written a few things here, immutable types, but there are other categories, other ways we want to compare data types. So this is not about let's list lots of data types and play with them. It's more, let's look at the characteristics that make data types what they are. And therefore, when we need to choose a data type for our project, how do we make the decision? What matters? What doesn't matter? How do I take all the key ingredients I want and then find the right data type? So that's what week 6 is about. Now, weeks 1 to 6 are the content weeks. This is where we're covering content, weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Weeks 7 and 8 are different. We're still going to be meeting in the same way, sort of Q&As 3 times a week, etc. But instead of having new material every day, we now have a project that's going to last for 7 weeks. 7 weeks. It's going to last for 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks. That's 10 days. And we'll all work on the same project. Doesn't mean that all our projects will be identical, but a key part of this course is the discussions and the conversations. So we can't have 10 different projects, otherwise we can't discuss. We'll all be working on the same idea, but we may all have slightly different versions. So the way it works is that every day we'll work on a part of the project. So here's the task for the day. You go and work on that. We'll have the forum to discuss things and share ideas. And then towards the end of the day, I might collect bits of code that you've all shared in the forum, maybe ideas we've had, and I come up with a master version, if you like, for the day. Doesn't mean that we all have to have that version, but it just means that as a group we have a reference version every day. And then the next day we move on to the second step and third step and fourth step. And over the span of 2 weeks, we'd have built this project, which, as you can imagine, uses topics we've discussed in the first 6 weeks. We'll have the opportunity to explore them a bit further, clear some issues we might have on them, and importantly, seeing how all of these projects, all of these tools rather, all of these topics can be brought together into a single project. And this will allow us to also see how to build projects, how to go through the process of starting from, here's what I'd like to do, here's the problem I want to solve, let me figure out how to finish with a project that does that. And we'll go through all of those stages. So weeks 7 and 8 will allow us to work on our project. And that brings us to the end of our course, so 8 weeks. So as I said, I've gone through this fairly quickly, but I've shared this link and I'll share the links again in the chats so that you can go and have a look at all of the content and see whether this is the right thing for you. Before I forget, I'll mention this again before I finish in a bit. If any of you are thinking, yeah, I'm not sure whether this is the course for me in terms of the level, do get in touch with me. If you have my email, some of you, if you're on Zoom, you've received an email from me. Just reply to that email. If you're on social media, you can find me or contact or go to the Real Python main account and say, "Oh, I've been speaking to Stephen about the intermediate course. Can you connect me to him because I want to ask about this and that?" I'm more than happy to look into your specific requirements and there and sort of suggest, is this the right fit for you? Let me have a look at a few more questions. A reminder, those of you who are watching on social media platforms, some of the comments come to me. Some platforms don't send the comments to me directly because we're streaming across several. So if you've asked the question and I haven't seen it, but I'll be able to see it after the session, or just contact me directly with a question after the session. But I do have a few more questions there. Um, um, Good. I'll say something about LLMs. There are a few discussions about LLMs there. So it's could you reshare the slides in the chat? I'll share the link again in the chats. I don't have any slides as it happens. So the what I was showing you is the page that's I've just shared. So for those of you who want to look at this again, the only other thing I had, which is not slides, is this one. It's just a summary again. All of this information is on the page I've shared. So this is the only slide I've created. Gives me a good opportunity to review this. 8 weeks long, roughly 2 hours of commitment per day. I say roughly because it can vary a bit. The 2 hours per day, you can more or less do it in your own time, but 3 times a week we'll meet live. These are the fixed points. There are 2 times you can choose from. There are 2 sessions, so you can pick which time works best for you. So 3 times a week we'll meet live. 2 of them are Q&As, and one of them is a bit more of a structured session. 10 students per cohort, so we can have chats. You know, in sessions like these, it feels hard for me because I'm just talking. Whereas with the sessions in the session, it's much more fun because we can properly have a conversation in those sessions. And as I've mentioned, there's the forum where the course is live throughout the whole 8 weeks with discussions, posting code, feedback, etc., etc. Good. Someone's asking me there if I have a real Python subscription. So this is separate from a real Python subscription. This is a reasonably intensive course, instructor driven. So I'll be the instructor for this course. So I'll be there every single day, talking to you, guiding you, etc., etc. So this is a standalone 8 week cohort course, separate from the real Python subscription. Good, good, good. Yeah, the link, I'll share the link again for those who are asking again. So all the information, dates, times, pricing, bookings, etc. I'll send you to this page again. And for those who have not seen the post on the chat because you're on a certain social media platform that for some reason doesn't play ball with streaming, then it's realpython.com/live. You'll find links to 2 courses there. There's a Python for beginners, but this is the intermediate deep dive. So realpython.com live intermediate deep dive. Okay, so what I'll do now is I've finished what I need to say from my side. I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about AI, LLMs, and how they fit into today's programming, or at least my version of this, my view of this, although it's a view that most programmers share these days. Then I'll keep an eye on questions again, but this brings me, I've covered everything I wanted to cover. Now, AI tools. Do we cover them in this course? We will use them, we'll talk about them, absolutely, because the programming is changing thanks to AI. Now, how is it changing? Sometimes you might see on social media, someone says, "Oh, look, I've vibe coded this. I didn't write any code, I didn't do any code," and that's great. Well, non-programmers do not create anything more than simple projects. Why? Because the way AI works at the moment, this may change in 10, 15 years time, who knows? But at the moment, the AI tools are there to take the knowledge you have and boost it. So sure, many programmers nowadays are writing less code, but they're reading a lot more code. I use LLMs every day, and I'm using my experience, my judgment to steer the LLM into the direction I want to go. I can very quickly look at code the LLM gives me and says, Anna, there's a problem there. This might work here, but it won't work in a more complex situation. So I can prompt the LLM and steer it in the right way. So it's making my life quicker and easier to code, but that's because I'm using my existing Python knowledge. So LLMs are great, and the more programming you know, the more Python you know, the more you're going to boost your productivity and move to the next level of Python with LLMs. What LLMs don't do is to replace any knowledge of programming. So where we are at the moment, again, this might change in the future. We don't know where AI is going, but at the moment, it's actually a better time to have experience in Python because a certain amount of knowledge, whatever it is, takes you much further today, thanks to the boost you get with AI, than it did 3, 4 years ago before the current generation of AI. So that's my view of AI. That's what most programmers' view of AI is. That's where AI is at the moment. So we will be using it in this course. We'll be exploring how to use it to help us learn and to help us code. They're not the same thing, they're different things. And in both instances, the better our knowledge of Python, the more we can trust what our AI is giving us, and the more we can use it on complex projects. So that's, in brief, where AI stands today. And again, if there are more questions about AI, I'm more than happy to discuss them. I have another question there, which where can we get recordings of these sessions? So if you're asking, two questions here. I don't know which one you're asking. If you're asking about the recording of this information session, this session is recorded. Those of you who are on Zoom, I'll send you a link afterwards because I've got your emails. Those of you watching on social media, the recording will be on the social media platform you're on. If you can't find it there, it will be on the Real Python YouTube page as well. Now, in terms of the sessions in the course itself, let me go back to there. These sessions, all sessions throughout 8 weeks are recorded as well. Now, I always encourage people to attend live because all of these sessions, you benefit more from the discussion we're having, and that we can only have live. But if you have to miss a session because a work meeting has come in unexpectedly, or something else, that's perfectly fine. All the sessions are recorded. You get access to them, and therefore you can catch up with a session you've missed later on. Or perhaps there was a discussion about a certain topic in a certain Q&A or a session, and you want to go to the discussion again and sort of make sure you haven't missed anything. So the recordings are there. One other thing to mention at this stage is that all the content you go through every day, all the session recordings, and all the discussion on the forum are there for you to keep after the 8 weeks as well. So all the content, you can then keep using it afterwards, reviewing, etc., etc. Good. Seth tells me that AI tells people what they want to hear more often than what they really want to hear. Sometimes, yes. I think the key issue is that no professional software will ever be published just from AI code. Let me explain what I mean. The code may be written by AI, but it's been reviewed and okayed by a real person. And that real person knows their programming very well. Now, will this change? Possibly not with the current generation of AI, because the LLMs we have at the moment, their very nature is that they're a stochastic process. So who knows? But certainly at the time being, programming has changed, but AI is not replacing programmers. AI is helping programmers be more efficient. Sure, it might be in some places fewer programmers can get more done, perhaps, but no professional code will ever come out where no human person has actually gone through what code there is. Good, good, good. So yeah, so this course is a standalone course separate from subscription. This is very much an 8 weeks intensive in the sense that there's stuff happening every day. I'll be there every single day of the course, not just in the live sessions, but every day on the forum, discussing with you, guiding you. So this is very much a standalone 8 week course where I'll be with you as a small group going through the material. So this is a much more personalized approach. We're in a group, but in a small group as well. So I tend to get to know everyone in the group, and good. Um, good. Yeah. So as a reminder, if this course is not the right thing for you now, Real Python has also plenty of other material, tutorials, read video courses. So at Real Python, we have various parts you could take. You could read the tutorials, those are all available for free for everyone. And then you have a subscription, you get access to other things on the Real Python platform. If, however, you think that this guided, curated course with plenty of live interaction is the right thing for you, then this is yet a separate product. Good. Let me have a quick scroll through my questions. I did miss one there. Are Sergi, are we going to learn something about pure Python? So here we'll be focusing on. So the question is this pure Python, or are we looking at front end frameworks, DB manipulation, etc.? And then there's another question: what tools we use in the course? The focus here is on core Python. So we're not looking at third-party frameworks in this course. The aim of this course is to get the core Python, dive deeper, make sure we get the core Python functionality, and we really get Python, we really get the philosophy and the tools that Python has. Of course, if you're working on other frameworks, if they're Python frameworks, they're built on top of Python. So core Python is essential for anything you want to do. But in this course specifically, we're not going to be looking at any specific application of programming. So we're not going to be looking at front end or front end, back end, or any other specific area. We're focusing on core Python. So in this course, it's all about core Python, not about third-party modules. What tools we'll be using in this course? Now, tools could be generic. We're using Python. That's the one tool. In order to focus on Python, we tend to not try to introduce too many other tools. If your question is, I don't think so, but if the question is sort of IDEs, etc., that's up to you, right? The IDE you want to use, the best IDE is the one you're used to. So the only tool that we really need here is core Python, because this is diving deeper within the core Python language. I've got a few more questions coming in. Do you have which versions of Python are discussed? So I always use the latest version of Python that's available. So yes, I'll be using 3.14. The content we have, let me go back to the content. No, not there. Let me go back to the content there. None of it is specific to Python 3.14 or 3.13. Generally speaking, most of the core Python functionality, the latest changes here might be around Python 3.10 probably. So yeah, this is core Python. In the last couple of versions, nothing has changed that affected this course. But I always tend to use the latest version, so I'll be using 3.14 and this course. But the content here would be fine on a few versions before that as well. Unless you have any other reason to, the latest versions tend to be the best ones to use. Also bear in mind that the last few versions of Python have had quite a bit of efficiency improvements. I think over 3.10, 3.11, 3.12, there were a lot of efficiency improvements. So if for no other reason, things run much faster in later versions of Python than they did before. Good. I think I have covered all the questions. So what I'll do is I'll wrap up once again with two things. So let me go back to this mind map. I've gone through this before, right? So yeah, 8 weeks, 2 hours per day, roughly 3 live sessions a week, 10 students per cohort, forum to keep the discussion going. Good. So let me finish here with that link for anyone who needs to. So I've shared the link, and if you go to realpython.com/live, click on Intermediate Deep Dive, you'll see the page I was sharing with you. Good. I'll wrap up now, and then I'll stay here in the background in case there are any more questions coming in. But let me use this opportunity to wrap up. And so Mohammed asked, pricing. So in terms of pricing, have a look at realpython.com/live. Yes, I know. Not this course may not be suitable for everyone for all sorts of different reasons. So we will be running more of these courses. They are a very labor-intensive course. Yeah, there's going to be stuff happening every day, whether it's in live sessions or on the forum. So, if this course is not the right thing for you, please have a look at other Real Python material. There's plenty of Real Python at all levels, including all the free material. So realpython.com/live, click on Intermediate Deep Dive. You'll find all the information about dates. The next course, this course starts on the 2nd of February. So there's still a couple of weeks before we start. And that's around for 8 weeks. Good. Thank you all for joining today. As I've mentioned, there's a recording of the session. So if you just caught a part of it, this session is recorded. I'll either send it to you if I have your email, or if you're on social media watching this live, it will be on that social media platform or on the Real Python YouTube page. Hopefully, I'll see some of you in a few weeks' time when the Intermediate Deep Dive course starts. As a reminder, if some of you want to ask specific questions that we haven't dealt here, maybe they're specific to your current level, do get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to talk to you individually. At the end of the day, we want to see that this course works for you as well. So I'll always give you my honest view on whether this course is what you're looking for. We can have a chat. Excellent. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. And since it's Friday, have a good weekend. I'll stay in the background for a bit in case there are more questions, and hope to see you soon, either in our course or elsewhere in the Python world. Bye-bye.